Good evening and welcome to the LaRouche Organization Weekly Battle Report. I'm your host, Michelle Aaron, and today is Wednesday, May 28th. Tonight's battle report will focus on the amazing Memorial Day weekend conference held last weekend by the Schiller Institute and LaRouche movement, titled A Beautiful Vision for Humanity in Times of Great Turbulence. First, Megan Dobrodt, the president of the Schiller Institute USA, will give an overview of the conference. Then, to get a sense of the music between the notes at the event, we will watch a series of responses from conference attendees. Lastly, we will look at some of the press coverage that's helping to circulate the conference more widely. So first, let's go to U.S. Schiller Institute President Megan Dobrodt.
The Schiller Institute just concluded a two-day conference called A Beautiful Vision for Humanity in Times of Great Turbulence. This conference brought together hundreds of people, including dozens of young people from many countries around the world. There were diplomats, world leaders, former presidents, students, leaders of organizations, leaders of the peace movement, and ordinary citizens. The conference was 6 panels over 2 days. The first panel, which was called Strategic Challenges and the Emerging Order, addressed the immediate strategic situation in front of us. Let me give you a sense of the speakers on that panel, which opened up the conference. The keynote speaker was Helga LaRouche, founder of the Schiller Institute and co-founder of the International Peace Coalition. She was followed by Her Excellency Naledi Pandor, the former Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa, and then Professor Zhang Weiwei, Professor of International Relations at Fudan University in China. His Excellency Donald Ramotar spoke, the former president of Guyana. Ambassador Jack Matlock, former U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union, and also Ambassador Chaz Freeman, who was the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense in the 1990s. Ray McGovern, of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, a former CIA analyst, spoke. And then Scott Ritter, the former U.S. Marine Corps officer and former UN weapons inspector and whistleblower. And we also had a representative of the Russian government at the UN. So that panel set the tone. The rest of the conference was an answer to what do we do? What do we do to this, to answer this strategic crisis and build the world out of this mess and into a new paradigm? And so appropriately, the second panel was called The Beauty of the Diversity of Cultures. And it took up the question of what is a human culture? How do we revive a beautiful culture in which to think, to act, and to raise our children? The third panel, the LaRouche program to create 3 billion new productive jobs, featured the Oasis Plan, the concept for building peace in Southwest Asia and in Gaza and Israel in particular. The next day, panel 4 opened the day with a panel called the LaRouche Legacy Foundation on the actuality of LaRouche's ideas. This panel gave the audience a chance to watch Lyndon LaRouche speak and address the world crisis, which, though some of the videos were from 20, 30, 40 years ago, the speeches could have been given today. The fifth panel, The Role of Youth in Shaping the Earth's Next 50 Years, featured presentations from young leaders on the ideas and the modes of thinking necessary to move humanity into a new paradigm. And the final session, the Industrial Revolution 4.0, Space, Fusion, and AI, gave us a chance to hear about the scientific breakthroughs that are ongoing in many nations around the world in the fields of nuclear science, space, fusion, and also the discoveries which await us in the not too distant future should humankind decide to commit to that mission, as well as a discussion of the epistemological issues behind science and scientific thinking itself. So going into this conference, Helga LaRouche said that if you want to experience the new paradigm, come to the conference. And in my view, this conference more than delivered on that front. People left the conference energized, excited about having been able to saturate themselves for the weekend in the ideas which give us a sense of a different kind of future that's possible, something different than the one that we seem to be surrounded by today. They left ready to organize and to build the capability to make that new paradigm happen.
All 6 panels of the conference are available. Watch them and circulate them widely. Lyndon LaRouche often cited the great conductor Wilhelm Furtwängler that the music lies not in the notes, but between the notes. The notes in this conference were beautiful presentations from high-level people from around the world, statesmen, scientists, musicians, activists. But what lay between the notes? To capture some idea of what was the real music of this conference, we go now to a series of reflections given by attendees. Hello, this is Michelle Aaron at the site of the Schiller Institute Memorial Day Weekend Conference. Here we're going to watch a few reflections from attendees from Mexico, Denmark, Russia, Germany, and the United States, people of various ages and walks of life who have come together to participate in this historic event.
Hi, I'm Adrien Pearl. I'm here at the end of the Schiller Institute conference that went on for 2 days, and I'm exhausted. There was so much to discuss. It was honestly incredible. The high level of intellectual debate was unlike any event I've ever been at. I'll highlight a debate that happened between Jason Ross and Professor Happer as just the level of respect that people can have for each other debating these incredibly high level epistemological, philosophical topics is just remarkable. And I just feel really, really grateful to have witnessed it and been a part of it.
Hi, I'm Martin from the Netherlands, Germany, and Russia. I came to the conference in the hope of finding a connection between philosophy and everything that's going on in the world. Because we cannot talk about all of these things that are going on without talking as well about the meaning of life, etc. So I'm very happy that the Schiller Institute is combining all of these domains.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Hugo Kahas. I'm an industrial engineer and part of the LaRouche movement in Mexico. I came from Mexico in order to get here with all our colleagues from the US and basically the United States and other parts of the world. The conference has been totally amazing because there are a lot of profound issues from the world strategic situation, from culture, for very cultural performances, into science, scientific, historical, and philosophical panels. All of them with very powerful information in order to change the critical situation the world has fallen in the coming decades, as LaRouche stated, and very pleased to be here with all of you, sharing this view of this beautiful view of humanity, trying to overcome from recognizing a difficult situation, but with the methods, cultural, scientific, and cognitive methods to overcome this situation and reinsert our path into the industrial and technology, high technology, higher density power sources, and higher density mental thoughts.
So this is my name is Dason Yokoyama, and I'm here from New Mexico at the Schiller Institute conference for 2025, out here in Newark, New Jersey, and really glad that I was able to come. It was a great experience getting to meet so many people from around the world who put the time in, and really done the study to understand the mind of Lyndon LaRouche and the policies that he promoted for economics around the world in the American tradition of Alexander Hamilton and those that followed after. And so that's really what I want to say is it was just a great time. We had one thing that I'd like to mention is last night, as I was up late, like 2 a.m, talking to people, young people, and we had a gentleman walk in, and he gave us a recital of the Declaration of Independence, which was quite impressive and something that I would have never seen if I didn't come here. In addition to all the great panels, I look forward to coming to another one.
Hello, my name is Feride Gillisburg. I'm standing here in the halls to the international conference of the LaRouche movement. I have been honored to be here as a guest from Denmark and take part at this very important conference. What I would like to emphasize is that we have a group of young people who are going to create the LaRouche Youth Movement number 3, this new generation, and this is very exciting. What made me decide to join this movement was actually the spirit of the American Revolution. When I was in the US in 91 for the first time as a 18-year-old, I decided after being here for a campaign to join LaRouche because I figured out that there is something beautiful in this nation. We had presentations about Lincoln. We had the civil rights movement around Reverend Bevel and Martin Luther King. But we had I was exposed to something which I didn't know existed, that America is created to be a republic based on doing good. And I think this is what we are reviving, especially for the anniversary of the 250 years anniversary of the Day of Independence. So we need America to do good again for yourself as a republic, to keep the republic, and for us out there to join forces with you guys.
Okay, I'm Dave Christie coming in from Michigan here to the conference, and I think it brought together the whole planet, people from all over the world, but all kinds of different walks of life, from farmers to industry people, and so on and so forth. And I think that you had a real meeting of minds to figure out how do you take the backdrop of the strategic crisis, which is the collapse of the economic and financial system, and pull together the kind of dialogue required. I think that was certainly one of the key themes of the conference, was this idea that we need dialogue, even if it's with people that you don't agree with. And in fact, that's most important, to recruit people to a higher level of humanity, which is also what Helga LaRouche, shouldn't say she's just stressed this in this conference, because this has been the theme of her life's mission, but it is to get all people from all nations to view that though they are patriots of their own nations, that has to be from the vantage point of thinking of all of humanity. And I think that was reflected in this conference.
So, go ahead and go forward.
Hi, I'm Philip from Virginia. I'm here at the Schiller Institute conference in New Jersey over the Memorial Day weekend. 3 days of intensive discussion of profound ideas. And for me, one of the highlights was the youth panel, simply because we need so much now for a new generation to pick up and comprehend and spread the beautiful ideas that we've been given by Lyndon LaRouche, being carried forth by the movement now into a new world, into a new international paradigm for the world, for humanity as a whole.
Okay, I'm Bill Jones. I was at the conference this weekend. This was a tremendous conference. It's the first one we've had in many years, long before the COVID. We haven't been able to get together in our full strength, and I think we showed it today. We had, almost 500 to 1,000 people here, and there were a lot of presentations, a lot of young people who have come to us, who have gathered around us to organize, to change the world. We had people online from Mexico and from many other countries, and it was a tremendous amount of energy. A lot of young people who have come to the LaRouche organization, who've been attracted by our policy, who've been upset about the crazy situation that exists in the world, and they want to change it. And rallying around the ideas of Lyndon LaRouche, who was one of the most important statesmen of the last century. He was oppressed, but he was a remarkable individual in many areas, and he's now recruiting a good number of people under 30 and in their 20s who are now rallying to change the course of history away from the wars and the conflicts and the devastation that we see in the world today. So I'm very optimistic about the future as a result of the conference.
We will now have a couple items of press coverage of the conference. First, we will watch an excerpt from yesterday's episode of the Judging Freedom podcast of Judge Andrew Napolitano. Right at the beginning of the show, which now has over 40,000 views, Judge Napolitano asked his guest, Ray McGovern, former senior analyst of the CIA and founding member of the Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, McGovern, who was a speaker at this conference, he was asked by Napolitano what the conference was about and what Ray thinks is the attitude of young people towards war and peace.
Ray McGovern, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for accommodating my schedule. Before we get into the coming bellicosity, you attended a fascinating two-day conference over the weekend at the Robert Reed Hotel in Newark, New Jersey. I wouldn't normally mention the name of the hotel. It happens to be the same hotel, the same room in which I took the New Jersey bar exam, and passed the New Jersey bar exam many, many moons ago. You were there. Scott Ritter was there. The great Jack Matlock was there by remote. What was the conference about, and what's your feel for the attitude of young people about war and peace?
Well, the Schiller Institute people are trying to reach out to younger people and inspire them to do something about the indignities that are happening in our own country and abroad. They're having some success, and they're working really hard at it. So Scott and I gave what might be called motivational speeches, a little bit of history, but then saying, look, there is such a thing as too late. Get off your couches or get off your desks from behind your desks and do something. So it was pretty successful, as I could see. I could only stay the first day, but I understand that they really got going with the young people on yesterday, on Sunday. So I applaud them, and it's an uphill battle, but the more people get informed, of course, the more motivated they are to do something.
The conference was also reported on by the Turkish news agency Harici. Their article titled Schiller Institute Conference Calls for a New Global Paradigm Amid Turbulence gave an in-depth, very thorough coverage of Panel 1. The article summarizes the event aimed to catalyze intense discussion and reevaluation among global citizens, proposing a new security and development architecture to navigate the current tumultuous geopolitical landscape. And they quote Helga Zepp-LaRouche in her keynote address, asserting her optimistic view of human potential. They quote her saying, We are the creative species. Our creative reason is capable of always finding a solution to any problem on a higher plane. While we have kept tonight's report focused on this incredible conference, there were several other significant interventions by the LaRouche movement over the past week. For next week, look forward to an organizing report from Germany, updates on prominent signatories to Helga Zepp LaRouche's open letter to Pope Leo XIV, and participation of the Schiller Institute of France in a high-level security conference in the Russian Federation. In the meantime, if you haven't yet, watch the full proceedings of the conference. And if you have, get out and organize. Help us circulate the conference presentations. The youth panel, panel 5 on the second day, had a tremendous effect. Maybe this is one that you want to share with your networks to show them, as Ray McGovern discussed, the great work the Schiller Institute is doing with young people. Maybe you have people who would respond well to the culture panel, panel 2, or the strategic panel 1, with such important statesmen and leaders as Helga Zepp LaRouche, Naledi Pandor of South Africa, His Excellency Donald Ramotar, Ray McGovern, Scott Ritter, and more, not to mention the other 3 panels. But also, in addition to circulating this video material, go out and organize. Many people tell us, I'm the only one. I'm the only one who cares about these issues. I'm the only one who thinks the way that I do. You are not. But the only way you're going to discover this is to go out there and talk to people. So make yourself some signs. You can download and print flyers at LaRoucheOrganization.com. For hard copies of pamphlets, in-depth programmatic material, history, culture, whatever you need, contact us directly. Take an action, and then send in your battle reports to info@LaRoucheOrganization.com. Thanks again for tuning in. We will see you next week.